please welcome Garry Shandling.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here. Always, I'm always a little nervous because a lot of bad things have happened to me in a tent. I don't want to discuss it, really. I am here tonight and incredibly honored to be presenting George Carlin with the Lifetime Achievement Award. I have a very personal connection to George, which is absolutely true. It's why I'm here tonight. When I was 18 years old and growing up in Tucson, Arizona, and someone applauding for Tucson, Arizona, that's fantastic. It's a great place. I was the only Jewish kid in my family. And I was such a big George Carlin fan and watched George on The Tonight Show every time he was on, and I read in the newspaper that he was appearing at a club in Phoenix, which is about a 2-hour drive from Tucson, and I wrote some material. I was 18 and I tested myself to see if I could write George Carlin material, and drove up to Phoenix and worked up the courage to go into the nightclub where George was performing. It was Mr. B's in Phoenix, Arizona, and he was standing by the bar, and I said, "Mr. Carlin, my name is Garry Shandling. I'm a writer, and I just wrote this material. And would you take a look at it?" And he said, I write my own material, but I'll look at it and tell you what I think. And I said, "Great, that would mean so much to me." And he said, "Come back tomorrow night." I had to drive all the way back to Tucson, and then drove the 2 hours back to Phoenix the next day. It seems like at this point in the story, I should be getting the Lifetime Achievement Award, because I'm the guy doing all the driving here. And I see George the next night, and he sees me and says, "I read your material, come on into my dressing room." And he sat there and went over it page by page with me and said, "It's green, but I think it's funny, and if you're thinking of pursuing it as a career, I think you should." And it meant so much to me, and that is the kind of man he is. And literally, a year later, I moved to LA to pursue a career in show business. And to this day, George, I wish you had said, "Your material's crap, it's not worth the time, don't go." I'll never forgive you. He's such a wonderful man. And let's take a look now at just a few of the great moments from George's career.
My own career as class clown began one day in the 3rd grade when the teacher caught me fooling around in class. And she said to me, "Mr. Carlin, you can either apply yourself and accept responsibility, or you can act silly." And I thought, well, hey, as long as it's optional, I'm going to act silly. And so I began my career. Yo!
What happened in this country that now suddenly everyone is walking around with their own personal bottle of water? When did we get so thirsty in America? Is everybody so dehydrated they have to have their own portable supply of fluids with them at all times? Get a drink before you leave the house.
George Carlin's understanding of life's little moments and his use of language stems from his early childhood. He was the son of a public speaker, and from the age of 2 was raised in Harlem by his mother, who had a great influence on his life.
She could come home from a bus ride and do 7 characters on the bus and tell you a terrific story with a punchline.
George acted out and embellished all these real-life events to get the attention and approval of his friends. But this couldn't make up for the absence of his mother at home, who as a single parent had to work. So George turned to the radio for companionship.
There were shows like Fibber McGee, which was comedy, shows that were what you'd call situation comedies on radio. And they had these families and these small towns and the sense of family and community. And that was my sort of extended imaginary family. That's what I belonged to. Radio was a way for me to have some people to hold on to.
Yeah, there
George quit school in the 9th grade and joined the U.S. Air Force. His first job was that of a disc jockey, which led to his early comedy routines.
That's another big one, kids. Last week it was number 216. This week, zooming up to the big number 211 spot.
The turning point came when George met newsman Jack Burns, and they started developing comedy routines for their nightclub act. After 2 successful years, they decided to go their separate ways and pursue solo careers. For George, it was TV.
Or do you want door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
Oh, wow. No, 2, 3, hold on. Wait, 2, no, wait, 1, right, no, 2, wait.
See, my dream was to be like a Danny Kaye or a Bob Hope, to be in the movies and be funny. And in order to get into sitcoms or movies and be this kind of comic actor that I wanted to be, I figured, I've got to play their game. I've got to be one of their guys. I've got to go along to get along.
Late in the 60s, George began to realize it was time to move in a new direction.
I began to be more true to myself and my material. I let my hair grow, I let my beard grow, and I realized in the beginning of that process that I was entertaining the wrong people. I was entertaining the mothers and fathers of the people I really had sympathy for, which was the youth culture of the time.
He was determined to make that change, and that's when he became more controversial. His unrestrained criticism of bureaucracy received worldwide attention in 1972 when his performance listing the 7 words you can't say on TV led to his arrest in Milwaukee. As his irreverent style became more and more vocal, he pushed his comedic identity to larger counterculture audiences who had not heard his 7 words routine.
Well, we have more ways to describe dirty words than we actually have dirty words. That seems a little strange to me. It seems to indicate that somebody was awfully interested in these words. They kept referring to them. They called them bad words, dirty, filthy, foul, vile, vulgar, coarse, in poor taste, unseemly, street talk, gutter talk, locker room language, barracks talk, bawdy, naughty, saucy, raunchy, rude, crude, lewd, lascivious, indecent, profane, obscene, blue, off-color, risque, suggestive, cursing, cussing, swearing, and all I could think of was
George has appeared in a number of motion pictures playing very diverse characters. He finally achieved the goal that he had set for himself when he was 11 years old, to be an actor. He's released 14 solo albums, 10 of which were nominated for Grammys, and he won a total of 3. In 1997, George ventured into a new field. He published his first book, Brain Droppings, a collection of original routines, one-liners, commentaries, and essays. A second book, Napalm and Silly Putty, is a sequel to the first. George Carlin has reached the top by constantly growing, always challenging his audience and risking disapproval. And in so doing, he's earned the respect of all people who love to laugh and think and laugh.
if a real stupid person becomes senile, how do you know?
In prisons, before they give you a lethal injection, they swab your arm with alcohol. This whole country has a manhood problem, big manhood problem in the USA. You can tell from the language we use. Language always gives you away. What did we do wrong in Vietnam? We pulled out. That's why in the Persian Gulf, George Bush had to say, "This will not be another Vietnam." He actually used these words. He said, "This time we're going all the way." Imagine an American president using the sexual slang of a 13-year-old to describe his foreign policy. If you want to know what happened in the Persian Gulf, just remember the names of the two men who were running that war, Dick Cheney and Colin Powell.
You know that material that I submitted to George and he said he writes his own stuff? Seriously, half of it was on that clip package. It is such a great honor to introduce the man who means so much to me in the world of comedy and to the censors. Ladies and gentlemen, George Carlin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's all right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Please, please. Thank you very much. You're very nice, and that's nice. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. And thank you, Garry, for coming here tonight. It's no fun sitting in the beauty parlor all day. You look stunning, and that's usually the case. Someone remind me to get the name of his moisturizer, by the way. Garry is one of the truly funny people who do this sort of thing, but I do regret encouraging him at all. He did not really want to be a comedian. He wanted to be a gynecologist, but he couldn't find an opening. Sorry. Comedian is the best job there is. You spend all day observing your fellow human beings, and then at night you go somewhere and tell them what worthless people they are. And you get paid for it, and you win an award. It's a great universe. I hope it goes on forever. So let me thank a few people who have shared that universe. This is a kind of thing you only win once. You're going to have to listen. I'm going to thank many of the people Louis Black neglected. First of all, my mother, who did try to discourage me from going in this direction, thereby providing me with all the necessary incentive. I want to thank the people at Camp Notre Dame for giving me this award when I was 12 years old for being the funniest kid in camp. I wear it all the time. I took it off tonight so I could show it to you. And it has extra meaning. Extra meaning, thank you, because Camp Notre Dame was the place where I spotted my first pubic hair. And I'm grateful to say it was my own. And thanks to my partner in Burns and Carlin, Jack Burns, who stood on the stage with me night after night, sharing my humiliation. Thank you, Jack. And by the way, Jack was standing with me in Flint, Michigan, when a nightclub owner gave us a check for $800, the first time we had ever headlined, and said to the two of us, "I really took a bath with you guys." It meant so much. I'm sorry I don't have any funny lines about the managers, but I was doing a lot of drugs, and I don't remember very much from that. And my thanks, of course, to Brenda, who produced 2 of those HBO shows, and who for 35 years gave me her unconditional love and support. And to our daughter, Kelly, who has managed to grow into an admirable human being in spite of all my efforts to the contrary. And it's getting there, folks. And since this is a professional award, a very special thanks to my friend and manager, Jerry Hamza, who has been such for the last 21 years. One day in 1980, he took a look at my career and he said, "Have you considered suicide?" Jerry's advice and direction have taken me places I never dreamed and allowed me to be a better writer and comedian than I thought possible. Thanks, Jerry. Without you, it wouldn't have been nearly half the fun, believe me. And thanks to Ross, too, for being there along on the ride. I want to say one thing to you. This award is the second best thing that's happened to me in a long, long time. The best was meeting Sally Wade, the smartest, funniest, prettiest woman I know. Thank you, Sally, for all your support and your sweet love. You've changed my life, and I love you. And finally, I got to get home. Thanks to the comedy writers and the comedians who make life so good for everyone. And that's all I'm going to say. I got to get home, get on eBay, and see what they're getting for these things. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Sorry to hold you up so long. Thank you.